I'm a Vietnam veteran, out of high school, went into the Army. 70, 71, I was in Vietnam, came home and I met my wife. We've been married 48 years. We've got 3 fabulous daughters and 8 grandchildren. And they're blessing. When we're going through this, family is what really gets you through all the things that we're dealing with right now. So that's been a tremendous advantage for us. Right out of Vietnam, I started my own small business. I was a roofer. Thank God I don't still have that job. I don't know how. I started my career in 1973 when Livingston County we only had 40 or 50,000. Latson Road from Grand River to near Allen Road, that was all dirt. And you knew everybody in town. This county has grown so much over the last 40 or 50 years. But I've been involved with this county. I love Livingston County. I've devoted my life, pretty much. My wife has, my family has. So we've got deep roots in Livingston County. I did leave 1987 to 1997. I was hired by Tom Monahan to do corporate security. So I've got 10 years of corporate security. I've got 33 years in law enforcement. And I'm 3.5 years now as a county commissioner. So I've learned a lot. I'm uniquely qualified to do this job. I've worked on budgets. My name has been on the board, on the building. I've had to make tough decisions on budgets and cuts and disciplinary action against employees. I've held people accountable. Police officers out there, you see what's going on right now in law enforcement. It breaks my heart when you see these people start talking about defunding law enforcement. You know, what would we do without law enforcement? You know, it's crazy. And my point a little while ago, the 2A people, all of you that are standing up right now and doing what you're doing for 2A and being members and stop, I hope you don't stop, because there's never been a time that's more important right now. And Mike Detmerl hit on this. Mike does a better job about talking, because Mike, if you make it to Washington, you've got to make a huge impact on what's going on in Washington. When?
There you go.
That's what I said. Didn't I say when? When you go to Washington. One thing that I wanted to clear up, that as we were doing the 2A and we were doing the resolution, I was excited when Rick Nieper came to me, because I wanted to be the first county to do that. There was a guy, Rick, I think, where's Rick? Where was he from? The guy that first said he wanted to be the first. He was in Monroe County, I think?
Monroe County, yeah, that was Commissioner Greg Moore Jr. down there.
We were trying to beat him, and I was surprised that I ran into county commissioners that didn't want to proceed. We support all the amendments. The Second Amendment, since I was in the military and I took the oath of office as a military person, as a sheriff, and even as a deputy, every 4 years we'd have to renew our oath. You'd have to be sworn in again every 4 years, because the sheriff was elected every 4 years. So I've taken the oath about 10 or 12 times, and I really believe in the oath of office, to support the people that have elected me and to do the right thing. And the Second Amendment is right there. There's nothing more important than the Second Amendment. So I really applaud Rob and his group that are really promoting the Second Amendment. There's nothing more important that you're doing right now, especially in the times that we're dealing with. Black Lives Matter. As a police officer, all lives matter. I've done that my whole life. And I think by asking that question, that's a racist question when you think about it. They're trying to divide us as Americans. Why ask that question? We're all in this together. We're all Americans, and that's how I've always viewed this. It's not about what color you are, what race you are. It's about what do you stand for. It's your character of the person that's more important than Black Lives Matter. And then if you follow the money, they're all donating to the Democratic Party. So they're selling a bill of goods out there, and the 2A people, not only locally, but statewide and nationally, somebody's got to start standing up. I think it was last October, November, we went to, I think it was a Reagan Day dinner, and Dinesh D'Souza was speaking. And Dinesh said it, I think you'll all agree, Dinesh said, we've got to start treating them like they've been treating us. And I've been saying that for a long time. Republicans, we've kind of said, they're crazy, just kind of ignore them, they'll go away. But over the last 30 years, that crazy is really crazy now, right? So now we're dealing with a problem because we turned the other cheek. We're dealing with a huge problem where, look what's going on in Seattle. How do you fix this? President Trump has got a decision to be made. Does he send the military in? the first thing I would do, I'd go in and arrest the mayor and the governor, and I'd go downhill from there.
Sounds like a plan.
But that's just me, you know. I said earlier that I've got 10 years of corporate security, and corporate security, I was sent to Baltimore for a year, and I had I was lucky to go to Arizona. Some of the problems that I dealt with were employees. I had 400 stores, I had 5 states, internal theft, and as you remember, Domino's Pizza drivers, they were speeding down the road and trying to get from point A to point B, and the company was in multiple lawsuits. Well, my job was to fix that. My job was to find a way to slow the drivers down. And what I found out that they would take 4 or 5 runs out at a time because drivers wanted tips. So once I identified the problem, I hired like 10 or 12 cops, and I was running radar on our own drivers. I fixed that problem. We slowed our drivers down, our accident rates went down, our insurance rates went down, internal theft went down. So after 9 years in Arizona, I fixed the problems, and that's what I plan on doing in when I get to Lansing. I know we have a lot to learn, but Mike, you'll have a lot to learn in Washington. It's a learning process, but I've got some experience on budgets. I've got some experience on handling personnel, dealing with problems, dealing with issues. I look back, education, let's take education. We all know that's a priority. It's a mandatory service, right? How do we fix education? We're number 36 in the country about education. How do you fix that? You don't throw money at it. They want $175 billion of the stimulus money to fix the schools around the United States. You throw money at it, it's not going to fix it. You have to prioritize when you get to Lansing. What are your priorities? What do you want to fix first? Education, law enforcement, public health. Those 3 should be top priority as far as I'm concerned. Matter of fact, they're defunding those issues. They say it's not a priority, but it is a priority. And the other thing I want to say as a veteran, I'm very passionate about veterans. Veterans, we send them away, they come back with PTSD, they're dealing with serious issues. There's 20 suicides a day from veterans. Who's talking about that? Nobody's doing anything about this. Those are the things that I've got in the back of my mind when I get to Lansing as a priority. I've got 109 other people that we need to work with. I get that. You have to try to work across the aisle with the Democrats. But I promise you one thing: I will never sacrifice, and I never will break my pledge to all of you and the people that I talk to. I never will vote for taxes. Second Amendment is a priority, and right to life is a priority. I give you my word. I said that the other night, and I would continue to say that. Everything else is on the table, I guess, for discussion. But those are the 3 things that I can pledge to you that I will constantly uphold and defend, especially our Second Amendment. I'm a believer, and I've told Rod this, that if we lose the Second Amendment, everything else falls. Your freedom, your First Amendment right falls.
Amen.
Everything falls. I want to briefly talk about red flag laws, and I know we're totally 100% against red flag laws. We had a prosecutor that worked for us for 24 years that was a Democrat but got elected as a Republican. When the laws were changed in 2001, the CCW laws, he was the first one off the gun board. Even he wouldn't even have a representative on the gun board because he didn't believe anybody should have a gun, which surprised me. And I talked to Dave, and I said, Dave, you've taken an oath of office to uphold the laws of the state of Michigan, and you're violating that oath by what you're doing here. But he wouldn't be part of the gun board anymore. So we always knew that he was a Republican, but why did he win 8 terms as our prosecutor? Nobody would stand up. Nobody would say, this guy's a rhino. Why are we voting for this guy? So the Republicans in this county need to be Republicans and stand up and call it like it is. Shauna Murphy is the only Republican. Judge Geddes is a Republican, but everybody else is a Democrat. So what do you think is going to come out of the courts? Their decisions are going to come out of the courts, liberal decisions. But we're not looking at local courts. Somebody mentioned the Supreme Court. Well, I agree with the Supreme Court. They won't even take up the Second Amendment issues that are very, very dear to our hearts and very important to all of us. But on the local level, we have the same issue. The prosecutor's office, I've seen it happen in our own backyard. So we have to pay attention to who you're electing. People, when they go to vote, they don't know who they're voting for. It took me 6 weeks, or took us 6 weeks. There was other commissioners on board with this, but it took 6 weeks to get this process through. Remember I said I wanted to be the first one to get it passed in Livingston County? I think we were 17, right, Rick? And that was okay, 17, but it took me a long time to get that process through. A lot of backroom discussions. Sheriff Murphy, I went to Sheriff Murphy, I sat down with him, I sat down with the prosecutor. They wanted to tweak things a little bit, and we had to stay true to what we thought the Second Amendment really stood for. So it came out okay, but it took 6 weeks to get there, and it really dumbfounded me that I had Republicans that were fighting me on this issue or disagreeing with me on that issue. So you do have Republicans that, for whatever reason, want to back up on that issue. And there's nothing more important than your Second Amendment rights. And I hope everybody understands that. And I hope as we move forward, that's something we gotta continually talk about. Dinesh D'Souza said we got to start playing their games. We got to start playing in the mud with them. I don't believe in taking people's weapons. The red flag laws, when I spoke of the prosecutor's office, he would take your guns. You know, if he's a judge, look at all the liberal decisions that are being made by the judges. You think your guns are going to be safe if you get the wrong judge in circuit court in Livingston County or at the state of Michigan or even at the Supreme Court? They're going to take your guns. And that's why also President Trump has got to get elected in the next 4 years or we're going to be in trouble. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in the Constitution. And when I see things happen that don't line up with that, it really, really bothers me, because if we lose that, where do we go? You know. So all of you, I wish we could reach more people, but we all need to fight this. Don't give up. Continue the fight, Mike. When you get to Washington, Mike, make sure that you stand up for our rights in Washington, because you think Livingston County politics are difficult, or Michigan politics are difficult. I wish you the best, buddy. I just want to talk real quick about some endorsements that I got. Dr. Hank Vopel, a very honorable man, has endorsed our candidacy. Cindy Denby is probably one of the most popular, best liked people in Livingston County. She's endorsed our candidacy. Please vote in the August 4th primary, and I appreciate your vote on the August 4th primary. Don't forget, important date. Now, if you're going to vote for any other candidate, you vote for them on August 8th. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Thanks for coming out.